would not be able to be at the table is just the greatest thrill. And the best Christmas that I have had, literally, in my life came once when I was in the minority. And I sat on the Joint Finance Committee, and so I didn't have the votes. We were in the minority in both houses, so I didn't have the Democratic votes to get my way. And the Hmong community was about to lose all of its core services on December 31st if we didn't give them some bridge funding. And the Republicans were in charge, and I just sort of whispered a little prayer and made the argument and made the case, and that initiative passed and saved all their core. I mean, it's like, and so when my son walked in with his usual, "Ma, I would have bought you something for Christmas, but," I just said, "It's okay. This is the best Christmas I've ever had in my entire life." And that's the reason to do it.
Go ahead.
So this is 12 years ago. I was an environmental lawyer, as I've said. I was the public intervener for many of those years, and despite good efforts by then Senator Panzer to try to keep that office, she was one of the heroes that tried, along with Gwen Moore in the legislature and my husband, who just left for the moment. The public intervener office was abolished. So then I was a regular lawyer in the Department of Justice. Jim Doyle was very good to me, could have any case I wanted, basically. What would be normally a great career path for people, and people would stop me on the streets in Dane County and saying, "Hey, Falk, why don't you run for county executive? Huge, fast-growing county, lots of trout streams and natural resources at stake. Why don't you run for county executive?" And I'd look at them like, "You might as well send me to the moon." Did anybody ever hear I wanted to be a politician? I'm already a lawyer, the lowest on the totem pole, you know. What's lower? Politician, okay. But in my private life, as I was raising this son you're getting tired of hearing about, raised him in a really poor neighborhood, purposely. And so we were part of the lives of a lot of kids who, unlike us, who had lots, had nothing. Moms, a lot of crack problems, dads didn't exist, had kids live with us on and off regularly. And I grew really, really angry with the system and wanted to change that. I wanted to get moms and dads working so kids go to school. And this is right when President Clinton is saying, states, you got to reform a welfare system, and Governor Thompson's saying, great, we'll do it in Wisconsin, but actually it's the counties that do it. I went, maybe that's what I'm supposed to do, run for office. And that's why I ran. And so every day I get to not only manage a $500 million budget and serve 500,000 people, but I get to change these systems, moving families out of poverty, reforming a criminal justice system so it's fairer and more efficient, trying to reduce the problems of alcohol. The list is long, everything from A to Z, and I get to work on that every single day. It is just a tremendous honor. I get energized every single day. I go to sleep at night exhausted, can't wait to go to work the next day because there's more to do. That's why I ran for statewide office. Same thing.
Mary Panzer, what was the payoff for you?
The thing that really made it for me, and I used to say this, I would put up with the politics to be able to do the public policy, because I loved working on the public policy. And and it goes back to most of my time in the legislature was actually on joint finance. And I always remember you work with these large numbers, big blocks, and they have, kind of names that's hard to relate to. But we'd go through these big joint finance hearings. And I always remembered to try to, see the faces of the people. And that, to me, what it was all about, that you actually could improve things for people. I remember a program, I think, when I was first elected to the Assembly called Displaced Homemakers, which trained older women that were going through divorces or displacement or whatever for a multitude of different reasons. But the vocational system there wasn't really a gateway into the educational system for them. And so at that time, the federal government was dropping some of the women's centers, and we decided to just do this program. One of the best moments I had was serving on that council and actually seeing how you affected what you did in terms of your legislative time. It was a great experience, and I think if you like that, and if you see the big picture and you see the little piece, it makes a difference. For me, why it pushed me over the edge to run, I always knew I'd do something in public service because that was kind of the family I grew up in. It didn't have to be elective office. Maybe I should give my brother credit for saying you can't, because then I wanted to. If somebody tells you can't do it, what do you want to do? You want to do it, right? So I think that probably had something to do with it. But I just think in this state, it is such a great state to be involved, because there's so many ways you can be involved, and every state isn't like Wisconsin. So it's a great place to really make a difference.
And Representative Jeskewitz.
Gwen and I were talking out in the hall earlier, and she said we just have that civic duty kind of feeling, and we people who are in elected offices, and I really absolutely agree with that. And as Mary said, the things that you can accomplish, and now I'm getting kind of like, shoot, maybe I shouldn't have done this. maybe I should be a write-in candidate on November 4th. I'm going to miss that part of it because the accomplishments, being on the co-chair of the audit committee, the accomplishments that we have made after our audits and doing legislation. And you know, one of my favorite bills, as Sharon knows, is the Bannon Baby bill that I co-authored with Jeff Plaley, Senator Plaley, and we've saved over 40 babies in the state of Wisconsin because of the Safe Harbor bill. And those kinds of accomplishments I'm going to look back on and say, wow, you know, I mean, it was so heartwarming to be able to accomplish those kinds of things. What made me go finally decide to run for office, my husband was ready to retire, and he wasn't very happy about the fact that I was going to leave and go to the state. And finally one night we sat down with Lita Schneider's, my predecessor, and her husband, and we left there and went to a restaurant for dinner. And I said to my husband, you know, you've accomplished what you wanted to do. You are a football coach who has won the state championship. You've won how many championships for conference? I think it's time that I need to make my accomplishments. I sat home and he looked at me and he said, you are absolutely right, and whatever I have to do, I will do it.
That's great. It's a great story. We appreciate you sharing that with us. Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ellen Brostrom, and I'm a partner at Reinhardt Berner Van Duren downtown, and I have just jumped in for the first time in my life into the political fray. I'm running for Milwaukee County Circuit Court in the spring '09 election. And I wonder if any of you could comment. I know none of you have run for a judicial office, at least I don't think you have, but you've probably watched them from the partisan side of the playing field, and I wonder if you have any advice for me.
I've helped a lot of people run for judge and win. Go to every coffee shop you can, as often as you can. No, really, it's a very grassroots, neighbor to neighbor. Knock on doors and sign up people, and raise the money to be able to get your message out, and hire a great campaign manager like I always have. She's here. And because the issues will not dominate, and so it's really your personal credibility, your personal connections in the community that will give you that opportunity to serve.
Based on your experiences, that's really what it's about, isn't it?
Yes.
A lot of it is one-on-one retail politics, isn't it?
Yes.
Very much so in a race like that. It's a spring ballot, usually a low turnout election, and find out who your voters are. And you know, it is, as Kathleen said, it's retail. Just, you know, find how to spend, because you don't have a lot of time between now and then. So find out how to maximize your time.
I agree with what they've said. It's a very low turnout election, so it is possible to know who, in fact, is going to go and vote. It's possible to meet or call each one of those people